Welcome. I can't do a 21-minute meeting. Well, maybe we can.
I know I said that last meeting.
September 10th, Valley View School Board 365U. Welcome, everybody. This evening we have some special guests from the Boy Scout Troop. I think it's Troop 34, who's going to present the flags and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Gentlemen, if you would please.
Will the audience please rise for the presentation of the colors? Color guard, attention. Color guard, advance. Scout salute. Will the audience please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could ask everyone to stay standing for a moment of silence to recognize that tomorrow is the 11th anniversary of September 11th attacks on the United States from terrorists in New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and the Pentagon, and Washington, D.C. Please, thank you. Thank you. Gentlemen, if you want to place the flags, is that correct?
Yeah.
Bring them around the back of the dais.
Just do this, that,
Color.
and that. Color guard post the colors.
Color guard, halt.
Post the colors.
Color guard, post the colors.
Alright, you guys, so, you guys already post them, or? Alright, so, yeah, right there.
Color guard, reform, forward.
No, say forward again, because they're gonna walk.
Forward.
Color guard, halt. Color guard at ease.
Thank you, gentlemen. If the board would indulge, I would like to ask the Boy Scouts to stick around, and we'll amend the agenda to move them up into the program so they can get home and get their homework started. We have a special guest this evening with us who has achieved the rank of Eagle Scout, and if we could get you guys to all form up here, and I will come down and we will read a proclamation honoring the Mr. Luke Thornton. So, why don't you guys all come up over here and stand behind the microphone. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Want to say anything?
Not really.
Good. He didn't want to say anything. We've begun doing this, I'm not sure, a few years ago, honoring, guys, come over this way so you can be on TV. Come on. Because it's important that we acknowledge not just things that happen in school, but also that when we acknowledge excellence outside of school, which is the Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, all the things that go along with that. But to attain Eagle Scout, I know that we have a board member who has a couple sons who have attained Eagle Scout, and it's not an easy thing, regardless of how old you are, what age you are when you attain it, but it's a community service award of excellence, not recognized just in your community, but statewide and nationwide and to a point worldwide. With that said, I have a proclamation on behalf of the school district, and you hold that, and I'm going to read what it says right here. Whereas Eagle Scout is the highest rank attainable by the Boy Scouts of America, and whereas more than 2 million young men have attained the rank of Eagle Scout since the first Eagle Scout medal was awarded over 100 years ago, and whereas it takes a true leader to attain the rank of Eagle Scout, and whereas Luke Thornton has been active in scouting since he was in first grade, and whereas Luke Thornton performed an outstanding public service by planning and coordinating the construction of a sandbox for local not-for-profit preschools, and whereas Luke Thornton is a former Bolingbrook High School student who is now enrolled in Valley View's Secondary Transition Experience Program and has been a member of the stage crew for 2 BHS plays, as well as a member of the BHS Best Buddies program, and whereas Luke Thornton formally became an Eagle Scout during the ceremony August 12th, 2012, now, therefore, it be resolved on this 10th day of September in the year 2012 that the Valley View School District 365 U Board of Education, the faculty and staff are extremely proud of one Mr. Luke Thornton and congratulate him on all of his accomplishments in the school district and in the community. And we wish this outstanding young man nothing but the best in his post-secondary education and his future career. Mom, Dad, one of them, come on up. I think Larry's going to take your picture. There he is. We all know that you don't just get this by your hard work. We also know that there's parents involved as well, and we like to recognize that. Come over here and get a big group picture. Get in here, bud. Over here. Thanks, guys. Back to the agenda. Ms. Hanson, would you please read the Board of Education mission statement?
Our mission is to ensure that all students are prepared for college and a successful life academically, socially, and emotionally, as well as equipped with the necessary tools to have options and make decisions about their long-term goals. This will be accomplished by believing and working towards all students learning through rigorous curricula and meaningful, effective instruction, consequently demonstrating mastery on high-quality assessments, with all stakeholders being held accountable throughout the process.
Thank you. Moving down the agenda, Dr. Mitchell, any agenda revisions?
Mr. President, I'd like to ask the board to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve would be in order.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Kern, second by Secretary Bull. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Mr. Gazafi, Treasurer's Report.
Thank you, President Quigley. Treasurer's Monthly Report for August 2012, including the financial reports, balance sheets, summary of revenues and expenditures, as well as our interim obligation payments, totaling $6,310,722.85 are presented for your action this evening. Just a quick note that this interim bill list seems exceptionally high this month due to the fact that we received our ADK, all-day kindergarten payments, late in August. So they're presented here for your consideration in September. We were able to hang on to the money a little bit longer, so that's not a bad thing. But we also included in here our over $2 million in health insurance cost payments that was a little bit high this month. So thus the reason for the high interim bill list.
Motion to accept the Treasurer's Report.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Campbell, second by Vice President Gugis. Roll call vote, please.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Hanson?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Curran?
Yes.
Secretary Bull?
Yes.
Vice President Gugis?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes.
Treasurer's Action Report 5.2 is the schedule of bills, our normal schedule of bills for September 2012, totaling $7,836,177.61. Along those same lines, textbook purchases, $1.2 million are included in here. Summer capital projects, $781,000, as well as a monthly draw for all-day kindergarten on top of the August draw, $3.6 million, and a normal bill list, if you will, of $2.1 million, giving us the $7.8 million total. So again, just a note to explain why the bills are high this month.
Motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion on summary of bills? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Hanson?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Curran?
Yes.
Secretary Bull?
Yes.
Vice President Gugis?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. 5.3.
Summary of investments are presented for your information only. If you have any questions, be happy to answer those. Along with property taxes received, Treasurer's Information Report 5.4. President Quigley, you took a look at this and emailed me over the weekend, noting that the tax collections seem to be behind where they were at this time last year. And I think I provided you a response today, but for the benefit of the full board, we did receive a payment on September 4th, which was not included in here since this was prepared prior to that. So we still remain about 4 percentage points behind where we typically are. Also, the payment calendar has cut a second September payment, so our next payment won't be until October. We believe that it warrants further monitoring, as we always do, but we believe we'll be caught up in October. So again, it's good information. I'm glad you're looking at that as well.
I'm always looking.
Information Report 5.5 is the state funding update. Really no change there from last month.
The 4.3 million, that's the total that we're owed in arrears from the state, or is that's from last, not this year, that's last fiscal year, correct?
Correct. That represents the final fourth quarterly mandated categorical payments for special education and transportation.
What's the latest, how many?
That should have been received by June 30th. So
We're really not, right now we're not 90 days behind like we have been, or 120 days in some cases and even longer.
This is the lowest it's been, but again, it means we don't have access to that money.
Okay.
So.
And we've pretty much given up on collecting the money from a couple years ago, correct?
No, they are caught up. They just keep pushing out the current payments further. So what they do pay is they pay what they owe you. So the next time we receive a quarterly mandated categorical payment, it'll be this payment. And then they'll be current, but as soon as we receive this, they'll be one quarter behind. So
okay.
It's better. I mean, we've been as far as 3 MCATs behind when we ended the fiscal year.
Right. Just as a note to the general public and anybody else up here, the state will see a windfall, unfortunately, at our expense because the price of gas has gone up. And there's a gas motor fuel tax and there's a gas sales tax. The gas sales tax is based on the price per gallon, not based on a gallon of gas. So if the price of a gas a gallon is $3, the state gets a certain amount of money. If it's $4, they get more money. So because the price of gas is over $4 a gallon, the state is going to see some largesse that they would not normally see. Unfortunately, it's coming out of our pockets at $4 a gallon. So we may find that the state will throw education a bone. I'm not sure what they're going to do. Well, that money typically goes into the GRF, but there's a possibility that they might say, hey, by the way, we've got some extra money to pay off some of the school laggings that are out there. That's just a possibility, and I certainly wouldn't count on it, but anything is possible. So, and also, while we're talking kind of on that line, the state is also discussing the pension issue of where to dump further responsibility off of their backs and back on our backs. And Member Venegas and several of us had a conversation about how we should approach our General Assembly members. I've asked Mr. Grisafi to put some numbers together with the various proposals that are out there and what it would mean to our district. And we're going to present our local legislators as well as some of the statewide leaders with a letter that explains what that would mean to just our district. Because I think there's a lot of misinformation based on when a proposal is brought forth about how much money a district may have, how much money they may not have at that particular time. But these scenarios, some of them are that we would acquire the entire pension debt that the state typically pays in a 3-year period of time, a 13-year period of time, a 29-year period of time. There's all kinds of numbers that are out there. So we're putting together some numbers so they understand what that means to our district at this particular time. If you do these things, what it will mean to us going forward as well. So hopefully we'll have that letter in the General Assembly. We will definitely have it in their hands well before the veto session coming up in November. So moving down the list, All Schools Trust account.
Again, just presented as it is typically every month for your information only, unless you have questions.
Any questions? Mr. Mitchum.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask the board to approve consent agenda items 6-1 through 6-6, 6-1 board meeting minutes, 6-2 executive session meeting minutes, 6-3 trips, Jonas Salk Elementary School and Bolingbrook High School, 6-4 student activity contracts, 6-5 approval of Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund benefit protection leave for IMRF members, and 6-6 2012-2013 school calendar revised with early release on the last day of school.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Hanson?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Curran?
Yes.
Secretary Bull?
Yes.
Vice President Gugis?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Pillars of Valley View. Tonight we have 3. And who's going to do the first one? Mr. Venegas, according to my sheet. Oh. Beverly Scoff.
We have Ms. Noon from Beverly Scoff, the principal from Beverly Scoff, Ms. Laura Noon.
Good evening, Dr. Mitchum, senior leadership, members of the board, and members of the Valley View community. Beverly Scoff nominates Jerry Miners as our pillar of Valley View. Jerry is the building engineer for the K-8 campus of Scoff and Lukanzik. Not only does he take pride in how both of our buildings look and appear, he also ensures the safety of over 1,500 students and staff. Due to the support of senior leadership and the Board of Education, Scoff was fortunate enough to have an addition placed onto our building over the summer to accommodate our full-day kindergarten program. Mr. Miners was instrumental in overseeing the completion of this task so that our classrooms were ready to receive our students on time. Mr. Miners is frequently asked and called upon at the last minute to set up and prepare district level and school meetings, and does so in a manner that continuously makes Valley View very proud. It is with pride that we nominate Mr. Jerry Miners as a pillar of Valley View.
You bet. Next, Mr. White, Bolingbrook High School. Member Hanson.
Good evening, President Quigley, Vice President Gugis, trustees, senior leadership, Superintendent Mitchum, and the community. It's my pleasure to recognize Elizabeth Sternum as a pillar of Valley View School District for Bolingbrook High School. As a member of the World Language Department at Bolingbrook High School, Elizabeth has taught 4 classes each year for several years in a row. This year she travels to Romeo High School and forgoes her planning period to teach our district's students. Elizabeth has single-handedly designed the entire German curriculum for levels 1 through 4. Elizabeth collaborates with her colleagues and always works in a timely manner and efficient in all tasks that she is given. Bolingbrook High School, on behalf of the Valley View School District, recognizes Elizabeth Sternum as a pillar of Valley View.
I think we should make her lay some German on us. Wie geht es Ihnen? Ja? Danke gut. Und einen? That's all I got.
Was ist los mit
And I
du,
can say
Fräulein?
guten Nacht.
Was ist los mit du, Fräulein Stirner? Was ist los mit du?
Ah, that's right.
Das ist gut.
Ja. Ich haben Sie und... Oh, boy, it's been
You
too
sprechen
long.
Sie Deutsch?
No.
Jim, stop making up stuff. You're just making up stuff at this point.
Mr. Mitchum, probably most of you don't know this, but I think he spent about 4 years of your youth at a Ramstein Air Force Base in somewhere in Germany, some military base.
Vioflecken,
Okay.
a little town on top of a mountain that overlooked what was East Germany.
Ah, nice. I bet you were standing out, or outstanding.
Nicht Stancy.
Next, Brooks Middle School.
Jason Paskevich.
Paskevich.
All right, well, I definitely can't speak German, but I'll be Dr. Wood's stunt double today. Today we have our pillar of education. We'd like to thank the members of the Board of Education, senior leadership, and the Valley View community. We're going to present Lisa Daniels today. She exemplifies the characteristics of a pillar of Valley View and what a recipient should be. She sets high expectations for her students, puts forth great effort to ensure those expectations are met. As a key leader, she is a liaison between the district and the school. She has been actively involved in about everything we've ever done at Brooks Middle School. Of course, she's a member of the District Math K-12 Curriculum Committee to meet the needs of our 21st century learners. It is not uncommon to see Lisa at our school at 6 in the morning or 6 at night. She's engaged in a variety of community events, such as our community walk, back to school registration. Lisa has great humor and always has a positive outlook. She truly is an asset to Brooks Middle School and the Valley View School District. Thanks, Lisa, for all you do. Here, get in the middle.
All right, since we moved the Boy Scouts up on 7.2, we will move on to liaison reports. Any and all, please. Any liaison reports from board members? I've already done my rant on the monies were owed by the state of Illinois, so I can get away from that. Audience participation, anybody who would wish to address the board this evening? Seeing none. Action reports. Student due process case, Dr. Mitchum.
Mr. President, I would like you to approve student due process case A as presented.
Motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Hanson?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Curran?
Yes.
Secretary Bull?
Yes.
Vice President Gugis?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Ms. Kinder, Ms. Smith.
No report this evening.
Thank you.
No report as well.
Mr. Gazafi.
No report.
Thank you. Ms. Hawks, I know you've always got something.
Yes, I do, President Quigley. Action Report 13.1, we're seeking your approval this evening on the Consolidated Action Report for Certified and Classified Personnel. This report includes 22 items for certified personnel, 21 for classified personnel, and 1 for classified administrative personnel.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Hanson?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Curran?
Yes.
Secretary Bull?
Yes.
Vice President Gugis?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Dr. Mitchum, information reports.
I have one more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Action Report 13.2. It's on job descriptions. We are requesting that the board waive the first reading and recommend that your approval on the proposed job descriptions. Just a little bit of information here. The revised job descriptions are for Student Services Administrator and the Assistant Director for Transportation. These revisions are based on minor language changes and organizational changes.
And these are not new hires, correct?
Correct, they are not.
Thank you. Any discussion? Need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Hanson?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Curran?
Yes.
Secretary Bull?
Yes.
Vice President Gugis?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Dr. Mitchum.
Yes, I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Venus Smith and Rachel Kinder.
Good evening, members of the board, senior administrative colleagues, Valley View School District staff, and audience members. Rachel Kinder and I are here to present to you tonight the 2012 Illinois State Achievement Test and Prairie State Achievement Test results. Just a brief description of the Illinois State Achievement Test. This is administered to students in grades 3 through 8 in the areas of mathematics and reading. In regards to the Prairie State Achievement Test, this is administered to 11th graders, and we're making sure to highlight their gains in reading and math, and also highlight areas in which we are going to focus in this year. Now, just briefly going through the slides for the elementary schools, you'll notice here notable increases in reading and math for B.J. Ward. We see an increase in reading at Scoff and minimal decrease in math. Notable increases in reading for King, as well as a slight decrease in math. We see gains in reading at Independence, as well as in math. We're seeing a balance here in the area of reading at Hermanson, with a marginal decrease in math. Slight decrease in math at McGee with a marginal increase in reading. Marginal decrease in math at Oakview as well as in the area of reading. We're seeing increases in reading and math at Pioneer. With R.C. Hill, we see a notable increase in reading with maintenance in math. We see a marginal decrease in math with maintenance and reading at Sauk Elementary School. At Tibbet, we see a minimal decrease in reading as well as a minimal decrease in math. And at Woodview, we see a slight increase in reading with a marginal decrease in math. Now, members of the board, if there are any questions, please feel free to ask at this time, or we can ask at the conclusion of the presentation.
Real quick. What would you prefer? Go
I
ahead.
just have a quick question.
Okay, thank you.
What is the, what meets, like last year, wasn't it 70, or is it 77.5?
Yes, 77.5, and then we're at 85%. We received a waiver from the state so that we can stay at 85%, meeting or exceeding. Any other questions regarding the elementary slides?
But that would be meets, not including any safe harbor goals, correct?
Correct.
You know, looking at this, and when I've looked at this earlier, you know, reading's always been our struggle, but this past year we've had some real gains in reading at the elementary level. What would you attribute that to?
I would attribute that to a focus on balanced literacy at the elementary level and as well as academic vocabulary. So we made a concerted effort to ensure that that was firmly in place and also focused on guided reading and the 5 big areas of reading.
It's just been explained to me that reading is so crucial that at some point it even affects our math scores.
Correct. And
in
that's
terms of word problems and things like that.
Right.
So it's great to see the gains that we've gotten in reading, and I'm really happy to see that. Hopefully that will continue.
Yes, it will continue.
I'm sure it will.
With that benchmark literacy, we've implemented that this year with kindergarten and first grade. And so we have a strong push with that balanced literacy again in our primary grade levels. And then we're looking to integrate that in grades 2 through 5 next year. And that's also aligned with the new Common Core state standards that I know everyone is hearing about. So we're making sure that we are up to date with that alignment with the Common Core state standards.
So we are now aligned, as opposed, I'm hearing some school districts are in a 3-year process to getting aligned. We are aligned to Common Core state
We've
standards.
been very aggressive. We've actually expedited our timeline to ensure that we are aligned with Common Core with all 6 grade levels. We started that last year, and we're doing that now in the area of reading for 2 grade levels this year, and then subsequent year would be the additional 4.
That's outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, briefly reviewing the data for our middle schools. Brooks Middle School essentially stayed the same, held serve. There's a minor decrease, less than a point in reading, and stayed the same in math. Humphrey Middle School saw pretty significant gains in reading and math, nearly 4 points in reading and approximately 2.5 points in math. Jane Addams Middle School also saw increases in reading and math, nearly 6 points in reading and just over 3 points in math. Lukanzik Middle School saw gains in reading, nearly 2 points, and significant gains in math of over 7 points. Martinez Middle School also saw gains in reading and math, about 3.5 points gain in reading and over 2-point gain in math. Bolingbrook High School saw a slight decrease in reading, around a point decrease, but not very significant, and nearly 3-point increase in mathematics. Romeoville High School also saw significant gains in reading and math, over 4-point gains in both areas at Romeoville High School. I'm going to move into just some summary data of the highlights, but I'll also stop at this point if you have any questions. I know this is just a general overview of the school information, but I'd be happy to answer questions at this time.
Sure. We had some real movement at the middle school level this year, unlike I've seen in the last 3 years, which is great. You know, really happy to see that. What happened there?
I think it's just a matter of concerted effort on the part of teachers, on the part of curriculum leaders, and on the part of our building leaders as well. We had some major work done, as the teachers can attest, in terms of curriculum development, curriculum alignment. Our director of mathematics, Christy Vey, also led a significant amount of change in terms of bringing our math curriculum up to where it needs to be, and ensuring that we have professional development to support that. Teacher collaboration has been a focus, as has the focus on use of data to drive the changes that we're looking at. So those are just some of the many reasons that we were seeing some increases at middle school.
Would those same reasons apply for Romeoville High School? And the reason I ask is, I would say 2 years ago we saw some significant free fall of the scores at Romeoville High School. Last year we saw that come to an end. And this year now we see some significant gains. I think Romeoville High School had some of the most significant gains, probably outside of B.J. Ward, maybe a couple other schools. What are some of the reasons and things that are happening there at Romeoville High School?
Again, the results can be attributed to the work of our teachers, and the leadership, again, is another key factor in terms of what's happening in curriculum, but also, just as important, what's happening in the building and the involvement and the focus on instruction and the focus on supporting teachers in the classroom and really making that a #1 priority.
Well, great job. Thank you.
If I may add, because the principal at Romeoville High School happens to be Rachel Kinder's husband, so she has to be cautious and humble in recognizing him as an excellent leader at the school. But I can attest to the fact that he has brought an increased level of accountability an increased administrative presence in the hallways and in the classrooms, and as such, his teachers have a much higher accountability for their students as well, and that in and of itself, his sheer will to ensure that his building gets better and better each year, I believe has a significant impact on their achievement as well.
Good job.
Yeah, and you'll see many of our other schools also had significant increases, and I think the leadership and the effort is also a key factor in supporting teachers. Second, classroom instruction, the teacher, that's the #1 factor, and the second factor to that we know is the leadership is the second most important thing after the teachers. So. Just some highlights. This is looking at all of our schools combined as a whole, and 13 out of 19 of the schools showed an increase in performance in reading. 9 out of the 13 demonstrated a statistically significant increase. That means greater than 3 percentage points. And 5 of the 19 schools showed a decrease in performance in reading. However, these were slight decreases, so not to pay that no attention. However, in order for it to be statistically significant, meaning it wasn't attributed to other variables, we would look for an increase or decrease greater than 3%. And 2 schools remained constant in their reading performance.
If I can quantify that statistically significant, when people get gains or decreases, it does not mean that that is not significant. Just from a purely mathematical statistical framework, that's the benchmark is 3 points. But particularly in a district our size, clearly the sample size is large, so the number of kids is what we're really looking at more so than just the percentage. And so when you have a district of 18,000 kids, 1% of that is 180 kids, 2% of that is 360 kids, and when you look at it in terms of sheer numbers of kids, that's a pretty significant impact.
And I'd just like to also add that we're giving you overall aggregate or composite percentages. We don't really spend much time looking at this. We dig much deeper into the numbers and all the way down to the individual student. We're looking at our students, for example, at high school, their movement from their 8th grade year to 9th grade year to 10th grade year to 11th grade year. Who's making the progress they should be making, who shouldn't, and we're doing the same at middle and elementary. And so this is just a bird's eye view of the data, and that we do look much deeper at this, down to the skill that was taught in the curriculum that was tested on the exam. So,
and that being said, I think that we all know that ISAT isn't the best measure. It's the measurement the state uses now. It's not really a measurement that high-performing school districts really use to measure their students. We've moved to using MAP, measures of academic progress, and I think that's a much better measurement tool, I think, in measuring growth. And I know we saw some great numbers there in the growth of our students, which really ISAT can miss.
Right.
In those areas. So I think that this is good information, but the ISAT is the ISAT, and the state recognizes it. So to all the parents at home, you'll be receiving your child is what, from K through 8, right, on that?
For ISAT, 3 through 8.
3 through 8, and we're doing 9th and 10th grade next year?
Oh, for MAP?
For MAP.
Okay, for MAP,
yeah.
That's through 8th grade, and this year we've added on 9th and 10th grade.
Okay, excellent.
And then ISAT is the 3 through 8th grade.
And so you guys, parents, you'll see that at home, the MAP scores, and I think that's much more indicative of where your child's at and the type of growth that your child's making. You'll see the state's going to make some major changes next year on ISAT. So.
Yeah, as long as you bring that up now, Member Gugis, I'll comment on that, and then we'll look at our math highlights as well. The state is making changes with ISAT, and I'd like to make sure that our community and our parents and our board understands that the ISAT, the test that we've been measured on for all of these years, where we're looking at our schools as meeting or exceeding and our students as meeting and exceeding, that test is going to change. And in the very near future, the benchmarks are going to change to be in line with the assessment that's given at high school. So you'll hear us talking about college and career readiness benchmarks all the time. So when those benchmarks change, our status of meeting, number of students meeting and exceeding, that's going to change dramatically, because the ISAT bar has been set very low for the state of Illinois. They've realized that, they're correcting that. We've brought in new standards, the Common Core state standards that the state has adopted, and a new assessment is on its tail. It will follow very soon. We'll be implementing that assessment. So ISAT, although it can measure gains, and these are gains that certainly should be acknowledged, it's not the benchmark that shows where we need to be. We'll have a new assessment in place, and right now MAP, which is Measures of Academic Progress, gives us much more usable and reliable data in terms of where we truly stand in getting our kids ready to meet the benchmark and to measure that progress that they're making throughout their time with us here in Valley View. So that change is coming. And the ISAT will no longer exist, and we'll have a new assessment called PARC in place. And that will be the new assessment system that will be held accountable for at a state level. So that's coming very soon.
I mean, just to follow up on that, I know there's confusion sometimes when we look at this graph. You can see the middle and elementary schools in the 80s and 90 ranges, and then you jump to high school and you see a much lower number, but that's because it's two different tests. And so
right.
The community really needs to be aware it's not the same test. The test given at high school, the PSAE, is much more rigorous.
Yeah, the PSAE includes the ACT, which many people are familiar with as an exam that people take when they're trying to get into a university or college. The PSAE includes that, and the Work Keys exam, which many individuals take when they are getting into the workforce and earning college or career readiness. And that benchmark is much higher than what the ISAT benchmark is at. So we know that there's a disconnect. The state finally has realized that there's also this disconnect, and so they're bringing that more in line. So that is why you will see numbers in the 80% meeting and exceeding at elementary and middle. And then when you look at our high school data, you'll see something in the numbers of 40 or 50% meeting or exceeding. That's because it's two different expectations, two different sets of benchmarks, and those have not been connected. That is going to be corrected, so you will soon see a more accurate picture of where we stand. And so our progress that we're making, and as indicated by our MAP data, that's our measure right now that we're sticking with as this whole game is changing with the new assessment. And so we'll have a truer picture of where we really stand, where we need to grow, and the growth that we are making.
In layman's terms, what Mrs. Kinder is saying is because
Sorry.
the benchmark has changed, that a lot of schools around the state will see a significant decrease in the percentage of kids who can meet or exceed on the ISAT, because the benchmark will be more in line with the benchmark to measure meeting and exceeding on the PSAE, which is more college and career ready assessment. So next year we will be very careful to ensure that when we report this information, we report both sets of data in transition so that people understand that using the previous benchmark, whether or not we've increased or decreased, and using the current benchmark, which will have a significant difference in the percentage of kids who will meet or exceed as a result of the benchmark increasing. And then as we get further down the road in terms of years, there will be no longer the need to make that comparison data, particularly when we move to the PARC assessment. But just to be clear, around the state, there's going to be some significant differences in the percentage of kids who are meeting and exceeding as a result of a much lower benchmark.
I believe the general rule's been that you need to exceed on the ISAT to meet on the PSAE in your 11th grade year?
I think the data indicates that 60% of students who exceed on the ISAT will meet on the PSAE, which equates to about a little over 20% of our students who enter into our high schools. And so when you see that a little over 20% of our students who enter into our high schools are bound to meet on the meet or exceed on the PSAE, for our high schools to get in the 40s and 50s is quite an accomplishment. Now, that's not to say that we're anywhere near where we want to be, and that's, again, I want to preface that with that not being a teacher issue, but you have to give the teachers the tools to ensure that the kids are successful. And as a district, we can do a much better job at assuring we give our teachers the appropriate tools to assure that when they deliver the curriculum, they're delivering a rigorous curriculum that's in line with what the expectation is, and that will bear fruit in the future. So we, as a senior leadership team, have to do a much better job of assuring that we give our building principals and our teachers in particular better tools for which to assure that our kids are successful. That means a much more rigorous curriculum. That means more technology. That means 21st century skill sets, and that means a lot of professional development. And that's what we're basing what we're doing now to ensure that our teachers prepare our kids for the 21st century.
Now I'm going to talk about the highlights in math. And as you can see here, 9 out of 19 schools showed an increase in performance in math. 5 out of 9 demonstrated statistically a significant increase, which again, as Rachel and Dr. Mitchum referenced, again, this is defined as having greater than 3%, increase or decrease either way. 9 out of the 19 schools showed a decrease in performance in math. 4 out of the 9 demonstrated a statistically significant decrease, and 2 schools remained constant in their math performance. I just want to highlight a couple of examples of how we are approaching math to ensure that we are aware of the changes. And just as Rachel defined, we drill down into the skill area. We look at individual growth. We want to see exactly how we can support individual students. And so at buildings, we are providing additional time in math for support. In certain buildings, we're also looking at clubs such as ISET clubs in order to address areas of concern. And so we're just looking at, also we did address, last year we did address going from one curriculum to another. So we had a huge curricular rollout in the previous year too. Overall, Valley View demonstrated an overall proficiency going from 79% to 81%. And in elementary,
correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be the first time a school district has surpassed the 80%?
Yes, it's highly significant that we mark that, because that's a celebration in itself. Exceeding that 80th percentile mark is a huge accomplishment. So let me go ahead and let's acknowledge that. For the elementary level, continue areas of focus, we're looking to ensure that we have an alignment with Common Core state standards in the areas of reading and math. We're also ensuring that we provide the professional development to teachers and administrators in the areas of literacy and mathematics. We also want to focus in on more training with professional learning communities, and that shows administrators and teachers how to collaborate and how to strategize when it comes to effective data analysis. We're also looking at ensuring that we have research-based interventions in place for our secondary and tertiary levels. We're also making sure that we continue to look at our formative assessments that's coming in place this year, so we're not just finding out at the end of the year how students are doing, but we're just periodically looking at our data. Just as measures of academic progress helps us to do that, we're also looking at formative assessments and embedding that into our curriculum.
Obviously, we're a K-12 district, so everything that you hear from Venus, you know is going on at middle and high school as well, and we have a very similar focus. Taking a look at our data this year, we really what it tells us is that we're moving in the right direction. But what it also tells us is that we still have a lot of work to do. And we're not going to stop with that direction that we're moving. So the teachers have done a great job adjusting and adapting to this huge amount of change that has come, as has our building leaders and our district directors as well. But now is the time just to continue to refine and refocus our efforts and support that. Nothing new is coming. It's just a matter of supporting and getting better at what we're doing and continuing to grow. So we also are focusing on increasing the rigor in our core curriculum, implementation of the Common Core standards, focus on instructional practices, because we could have the best written curriculum in the world, but if the instructional practices aren't in line to help transfer that to the students or help the students experience that curriculum, then the curriculum means nothing. And so with that, we're also looking at assessment, ensuring that we have a system in place that's balanced, that we're using assessment at the classroom level to drive what we're doing, meaning we know where our kids are at, we know what they need, and we know what it takes to get them to where they need to be. We also are looking at having common assessments in place at a district level and building level, so teachers can collaborate around their instructional practices and the curriculum that they're teaching. You'll hear, again, repeated every time we talk of anything, there's got to be a focus on data to drive any decision, and then to hold ourselves accountable and monitor all these changes that we're talking about. We also want to make sure we're better users of data, and that's at all levels. So district, building level administrators, and teacher users of data as well, and student users of data. How are they using the information they have about their learning to help them become better learners? You've also heard a continued focus on providing additional support. That's not to replace the core curriculum, but that's to provide an additional time and support to focus on these areas of reading and mathematics where our students need additional assistance. So the middle school enhancement program is one example of that. So there is a continued focus on many of these things that you have heard about before, and that's where our efforts will continue to ensure that we are devoting our time and energy in these areas to continue to move in the right direction. I mentioned the points about the ISAT and the changing of the assessment. Most immediately, the changing of the benchmarks and the requirements by the state in terms of what assessment we're using and when we're administering it. And again, MAP assessment, measures of academic progress, is really a tool that's going to help us as one steady constant through this time of transition. So we can measure our growth from fall to winter to spring and from year to year, and it's not dependent on the changes of the state. If there are any questions, Venus and I would be happy to field those questions or provide you additional information if requested.
Just a side note on future considerations. I've had some parents ask me, and I wanted to make sure I had this information right. In terms of smart boards in the classroom, we rolled out kindergarten, first grade, and fifth grade this year, and next year we'll have second, third, and fourth. Is that correct?
That's correct, Member Gujas. So we're just making sure that teachers have the technology that they need and they're asking for.
And I think also, I think there were some headaches and some hiccups with some of the installations. So to our teachers, I know we're going back to fix those smart board issues you have. So please work through your chain of command to let those issues come forward, because I think we're going to get that straightened out for you guys.
That was definitely a priority today during our discussion with senior leadership. We want to make sure that we're receptive and responsive to teacher concerns when it comes to technology.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Just a quick note, and I think, I don't want to discount anything that was presented here today, and I think it's critical that we recognize all of our staff, our educators, all of the administration, our Superintendent Mitchum, to see this kind of overhaul, this rebuild, and still show positive gains. I know that folks may think, well, it's just 1 or 2%. To show any kind of gains when we're doing such a huge overhaul in a system that's antiquated, that has failed in the past, and still see these kind of gains, speaks volumes in the direction that we are moving as a community, as in a school district. So I think it's critical that we recognize that these gains are huge. To go in the first year and still see a gain and not go in reverse, because sometimes you have those challenges. Anytime you have new changes, a new vision, a new plan, and overhauling the system, you'll see some breakage. And this is awesome to see that we are moving in the right direction and that we're seeing this kind of improvement is great. So I just want to make sure that that you guys know that we appreciate that and that our community appreciates it. So thank you, Mr. Mitchum, and all of the educators and staff and administration that has helped move this forward.
And I would second that. I think that we did go through a lot of change last year, led by our senior administration, and I really want to thank the teachers for bearing with that, because you are the drivers of change in our district.
Let's not forget our parents also.
It was not too long ago that when we were talking about making these changes, they didn't think it could be done. But with the new leadership and new people, what you have done is excellent.
Believe me, we're humbled by your recognition. But I want to reiterate just one more time, every time that I can publicly. Public school teachers in this country right now are taking a beating from everyone. There are many people who are attacking our system and attacking our teachers. And I cannot impress enough upon the public that this is not a teacher issue. This is a systems issue in which our system was never designed to do what we're being asked to do today. And it's true, we did go through quite a bit of systemic change in our district. But for us to be able to make any amounts of gains, modicum or not, really is a testament to the teachers in the classroom. It really is a testament to, if you provide them with the appropriate tools, they can be successful. And so I just don't want that to be lost in the accolades, because when it gets right down to it, no matter what we do up here, if it doesn't manifest itself in the classroom with those people who are what I call their boots on the ground, the people closest to the fray, then it doesn't really matter. And so I commend our teachers once again for staying the course and for weathering this storm and for fighting the good fight and getting the gains that we got this year. So thank you to all of the staff, teachers, support, bus drivers, maintenance, food service, all of you for the work you do with the children, because you are closest to them and you are the ones who make the biggest difference.
Done? Just checking.
Done like dinner.
There you go. You know, a couple years ago when we embarked on this new challenge, I think, and I'm not going to reach around and pat myself on the back because I certainly don't deserve it, but the board members also bought into this. And some of these board members have been sitting here for quite a while, and they've seen and they've heard promises and what have you over the years, and they've gone through different superintendents and so on and so forth and different administrations. But to have something, you know, you told us you were going to accomplish something, not just at the superintendent level, but down to the administrator level, down to the classroom level. And I'm not going to say I'm a skeptic, because I'm not, because I believed in it, but to see some gains, even a 2 percentage point gain in a year, is, in my opinion, statistically significant. So if we can continue to keep doing what we're doing, you know, more power to the board, more power to the teachers, the principals, everybody, the administration, and keep this going, because we don't want mediocrity. We want exceptionalism in our schools. And I think there's not a person in the district, not a family, not a parent that would say that we're not trying to go forward. And I know that there's been a lot of hand-wringing and I'm sure late nights. I don't know how Rachel gets through it with, where's the baby at? Bring the baby out here. It had to be a nightmare for her for missing work for 4 months not to be able to go through all these numbers and crunching and what have you. But so I want to thank my fellow board members for going along with this program as well, and senior leadership as well too. So moving down the agenda, we are at legal services, and I am sure that Jeff doesn't have anything, but I'm going to ask anyway.
No report this evening.
Thank you. Association reports. Ms. Sutherland?
No report.
Thank you. Valley View Office Council. Well, I'm sorry, Valley View Council. Valley View Office Personnel Council.
No report.
Thank you. Old business. New business.
Well, this is considered to be old or new. When Ms. Daisy Clare came to the board some weeks ago, and I know we highlighted one of our special needs students tonight, but we were going to talk and consider something like we have those who excel for our regular ed, if you want to say. And it brought back to my mind that we as a board said we were going to do something and we haven't done anything yet. So I would like that brought back to the table for us to discuss very soon.
Okay.
Do you have anything particularly in mind, Member Campbell, that you think?
Well, I'm looking at something in the same format that we have those who excel. And I know some people have spoken that would be a little challenge on, you know, which categories we're going to look at, but I think we can do it. When we saw Luke here tonight, and I remember Luke because he was in early childhood with one of my children, is that we can find some categories and we can make them look good. We have a luncheon or whatever. Everybody likes to eat, just keep it healthy for me. But I'm sure that we can do something to that tune, and I'm looking forward to what my fellow board members would like to have, not just to be honored here in this boardroom.
Member Campbell, that's duly noted, and we will assure that that happens. In fact, Romeoville High School has a program in place right now that's been in place for years, where they have a monthly breakfast for the kids who aren't your traditional kids, who get recognized for accomplishments that they've had for the month. So we will sit down and talk about that and see if we can do something district-wide to assure that all of our kids are recognized.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on the public on actions we've taken this evening? Seeing none, hearing none. Any announcements by the board?
I'll make one. You know, we do have the Kinder's baby, and Nolan is in the back. Good to see you, Nolan. I'm sure you will be his